Hi Mandela, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So to start, in season one, you were a guide in a lot of ways, but heading into season two, there's a war looming, which I think is such a fun thing to kind of unpack and deal with. How was that transition for you going from season one, where you were kind of a teacher in a lot of those scenes, to this, where it is like a full-on war situation happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think something fairly common in both seasons is the high stakes of the situation. Basically, season one, I'm fighting to save my best friend, Reginald, and season two, we basically now have to fight to save all of the vampires, and I think within that there's the shift inside of Maurice from going from an outsider, a lone wolf kind of guy who fights against the status quo and the system, to now representing the status quo and being the the kind of the system himself, the man, for a better lack of word. Um, and so I think that struggle within Maurice definitely plays out, and I think Reginald is very instrumental in kind of pushing him into taking on that position of leadership, and I think it's fun to watch and see it all unfold.
Yeah, and is it more interesting for you to be less of a lone wolf and more of like there's more characters to kind of deal with and understand in season two versus season one?
Yeah, definitely. Um, a lot of new fun characters to be unlocked. Um, but yeah, we kind of play with unpacking and developing characters still from season one, but we balance it with introducing new characters and more backstory to characters we already know in season two. So I think that's definitely fun.
Yeah, and comedy shows with vampires in them is kind of our other than like Interview with the Vampire, I feel like it's our new approach to vampires is to like laugh at them. What do you think is so interesting about kind of laughing with vampires instead of being afraid of them, that has ushered in this new era of vampire stories that we're seeing?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think what's special about Reginald the Vampire is when you try to put it in a box, it just doesn't fit. And I think that's kind of what I like about it, what keeps it interesting. It's not just a drama. It's not just um, a comedy, a horror. You get a Twilight, you get a True Blood, you get all these things, but it kind of encompasses all the emotions you would kind of feel naturally as a human. And I think we get to see a lot of characters we love go through situations that we could find ourselves in, but we like to throw a little bit of paint on it and dress it up as vampires and angels and all this stuff. But it still is kind of relating to actual things that go on in the world, and I think it's fun. I think with what you're saying as far as vampire mythology and kind of separating from that classic idea of what it means to be a vampire and leaning into more of the modern vampires. I think that's what our show is all about. Reginald, you never seen a vampire like him before, and I think that's kind of the backbone to Reginald the Vampire is ushering in that new age of basically the vampire mythology.
Yeah, and Maurice, I feel like in the first season was like the cool guy, but now in this season, like you said, he's a leader. When you started to build him, was there like a vampire story in mind where you were like, yeah, he would fit in this world with these kinds of vampires? Because there's always like a different lore for every vampire that you
Yeah,
encounter.
yeah, no, that's a good question. Um, I did, especially starting off, kind of wanted to play that sort of lone wolf thing where he doesn't per se fit in anywhere. He kind of goes against the grain, but but now as our main heroes are kind of all so diverse, the grain is really all over the place. And I think with our new struggle against the angels, we all kind of unite, and that's really the main focus is survival. So I think that's definitely the the crux of it.
Yeah. And now thinking of all of the different universes that exist within vampires, is there a quality of vampires from something else that you wish could be included in Reginald the Vampire?
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Um, I'll say something, and then I'm thinking, I'm like, that'd be a hassle to shoot. I'm always carrying an umbrella or so. Like, let me not get in trouble, get sparkly or something. Uh, um, I kind of like how we do it. I think it'd be cool to turn into a bat and fly, but that's kind of going back into like the older ideas of what a vampire is, and and I'm still learning. We
Mhm.
we still have conversations on set where I'm like, oh, okay, so in our universe, the silver hurt us, or different things like that. Where and even in season one, there's an episode within the universe of the neighbor boy thinking he had trapped me, and I know
Mhm.
that this is how we do it. This is vampires, and I'm like, oh, that's just a movie. So even within the show, I feel like we're still kind of figuring out and kind of teaching the audience members what our universe, what our vampires can do.
Yeah. You said umbrellas, and I instantly thought of Spike running around with like his coat on his head and just like running into buildings. But thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for everyone to get to see season two.
Thank you so much for making the time. I
Of
appreciate
course.
you talking.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great one.